The time for all of this talk is about to be over. The time for the Steelers and the Bills to trot onto New Era Field at Highmark Stadium, not the Highmark Stadium you're thinking of, the other Highmark Stadium, is almost upon us. And as we sit here at 3 p.m. on a football Friday, January 12th, 2024, you're telling me there's a chance, Chris.
So you're telling me there's a chance, to quote the great Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber. And just really quick to get this just over with. They are not moving the game.
Oh, no.
They're not moving the game. Thank you to the same people who like to share the same crap on social media. That's caused a different kind of storm. One that's not white, but usually a brownish color on social media. And they're not moving the game. So, yes, there is a chance. There is a chance that they can win this game. And obviously the weather will help tip those scales back into the favor of the Steelers a little bit. I haven't checked today, but last I looked, it was still 10-point favorite for Buffalo.
9.5-ish.
So they put it back down to 9.5 now. It keeps going back.
Well, I mean, once the injury report came out from Buffalo, which
9.5,
that Gabe Davis and they're missing a linebacker, and then Rasul Douglas will be questionable. The line dropped a point,
half a
point. So, yeah, the line, I guess, did move a little bit there. Swan asked, "Are we having a show tomorrow?" No, it's Saturday. We don't have shows on Saturdays. No. Even for the playoffs, no. We're sticking Monday to Friday. I see this. I keep seeing this notion that the weather is just going to, by default, help the Steelers, and I think that's a big, obvious topic to talk about is the weather, because as of this moment, as we sit here just after 3 p.m. on a Friday with the game on Sunday in less than 48 hours, we don't know what the situation's going to be in Western New York. The prediction is lake effect snow. The prediction is blustery wind gusts. We're talking 50 miles an hour on wind gusts. We're talking about unkickable football conditions in some cases.
Yeah.
We're talking about, in some cases, situations where you're not going to be able to throw the football because the wind's just going to immediately pick it up. And that stadium, for those that don't know, over in Orchard Park, that stadium is a very low bowl. Very low bowl. And winds easily get in there. It's a wind tunnel in some cases. Now, Hodge says here, forecast in the Buffalo area, 4 inches of snow during the day Sunday. Not a bad storm as Buffalo storms go. No, it is not. And again, I don't want to play this weather notion off like it's automatically going to benefit the Steelers. They're not playing Miami. They're not playing Houston. They're not playing the Rams. This is Buffalo we're talking about. Buffalo's weather, in most cases, is worse than Pittsburgh's weather. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, the bad weather, advantage Steelers. They deal with winds, they deal with rain, they deal with cold all the time. Yeah, they do, but this is a different kind of level. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that the weather's going to benefit really either side. The weather's going to be the weather. In fact, some people on the South side this week have said it. The weather's the weather. Both teams are affected by it. It's a non-issue. They both have to play in it. They both have to deal with it and contend with it. It just so happens that Josh Allen has thrown more footballs in 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts in his lifetime than Mason Rudolph has, if you want to put it on that level.
Yeah. I think the reason why is because, regardless of experience in certain weather dictates what you can do offensively and what you can do with the football. It does, and like Steelers Freak says it here, short passes are still passes. It's not like both teams are going to line up and just hand the ball off every single down, but it can affect how teams try to stretch defenses. If there are 50-mile-an-hour gusts and you're throwing into that, if for whatever reason, you're going in a certain direction where it's either a crosswind or you're even kind of throwing it into the wind, good luck. I don't care how strong your arm is, you're throwing into 50-mile-an-hour gusts. I think that's why at least for me, I put it more in, it helps tip the scales a little bit. Honestly, what probably helps tip the scales a little bit more is the fact that Gabe Davis isn't playing. That probably helps a little bit more because that takes an actual player that will stretch the Steelers defense out of the game. There are still receivers and tight ends on that offense that will test the Steelers defense. But Gabe Davis missing will be a big thing. And I think the main reason why is that when you go into a game like this, in which the weather will be a factor, it will be a factor for both teams, but it will be a factor, is that it plays into what the Steelers do well offensively. It doesn't fly in the face of what the Steelers do well offensively. And I think that's why if the Steelers can take advantage of that and make it more about playing the brand of football that they want to play, which regardless of weather is what they did against the Bengals, is what they did against the Seahawks, and is what they did against the Ravens. They made those three teams play the brand of football that they wanted to play.
Yeah.
And outside of the weather, if the Steelers can make the Bills play that brand of football, they stand a better chance to win. It just so happens that the weather aids in that effort instead of flies in the face of it.
So real quick, on the injury fronts, the only player designated out for the Steelers is TJ Watt, but we knew that as early as Tuesday when Mike Tomlin literally declared TJ Watt out.
Yep.
Everyone else is cleared to play. Najee Harris with the knee, Minka Fitzpatrick with the knee, Landon Roberts with the pec, Isaac Seumalo with the shoulder. No injury designations. They're cleared to play Sunday.
Yep.
Isaac Seumalo did not practice today, but that's kind of been a thing over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Seumalo has taken a DNP at least once a week in these last few weeks of the season. Najee Harris, Minka Fitzpatrick, Landon Roberts, all full in practice on Friday. And then as for Buffalo, again, Gabe Davis, knee injury, he's out. And Taylor Rapp with a calf, their third safety, is out. And he made a significant play at the end of the game last week against Miami. In fact, I think Chase Claypool was targeted on it. Made the interception that sealed the game away to Taylor Rapp. Taylor Rapp, also a Super Bowl champion with the Rams a couple of years ago. So that's a winning football player that the Bills will be missing. Rasul Douglas, one of their best cornerbacks. In fact, their second best, I would argue.
No.
Is their best?
Their best.
Well, their slot cornerback's also really good.
Well, their slot cornerback's very good, but he's really, really great at being a slot cornerback. Not trying to say that he's not a good cornerback, but Rasul Douglas is fourth in the NFL with 5 interceptions, and he has a 40.1 passer rating against. Dude's legit.
Yeah. So Rasul Douglas is questionable, and Tyrell Dodson, the linebacker, is also questionable. However, when it comes to Douglas, he did not practice all week, and Dodson was limited Friday. So worth noting on those fronts. Also, Deion Dawkins, the right tackle for the Bills, was back in full on Friday. Stephon Diggs took a rest day, so he's good to go there. But pretty lengthy injury report for Buffalo. But the ones that you need to know about: Douglas is questionable, Rapp is out, and Davis is out. So 3 pretty significant injuries for Buffalo. But obviously, as we talked about earlier this week, Chris, TJ Watt, the biggest, the most significant injury in this game being out for the Steelers, and it's Nick Herbig and Marcus Golden time. We spent plenty of time talking about that the other day. But I think today's really a good day to dive into the nuts and bolts of what we could see. Now, how easy is it to talk about that because of the unpredictability of the weather? This weather, if it's 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts and 30-mile-an-hour sustained winds, punting's going to be hard. I saw someone in the chat mention punting.
Yeah.
Punting's going to be hard, which really piqued my interest as to why the Steelers re-signed Brad Wing earlier this week. And, Brad Wing and Presley Harvin now both on, between the 53 and the practice squad. So
curious to see how that plays out Sunday morning.
Curious to see as early as Sunday morning or even tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow would be when elevations have to happen.
Yep, true.
It'd be curious to see if Brad Wing, as Joshua mentions in our chat, gets an elevation tomorrow, and maybe they carry 2 punters. Well, you don't know. At this stage, the unpredictability, not just with the weather, but also with the postseason. Like, I feel like the postseason, you see it in just about every sport. Teams will tailor whatever they need to do in order to best match up with the opponent in front of them. I mean, I think you see it more often than not in baseball and certainly in hockey with lines. But I think in football, you could see some game planning and see some, different kind of schemes and different kind of players on the field. And yeah, that might include special teams in this case with the punter for the Steelers.
Yeah. But it is pretty important. Now, granted, Harvin's primary job is to punt the football, but Lori brings that up too. Harvin's the holder, and he's a pretty darn good one at it. So if Harvin, for whatever reason, is not active, this is the type of game, especially if the weather is what we think it's going to be. This is the type of game where every point matters. And if the Steelers can somehow, kick field goals, and have that be the way that they win this football game somehow, then that's the way it is. And that means every single hold is going to matter. Every single snap is going to matter. So yeah, it's something to remember. So obviously shouldn't make or break the Steelers, but it should, it's definitely worth mentioning for sure.
How close will they have to get for field goals, does Matt ask? It depends literally on which way the wind's blowing. And in that stadium, it changes so often how the winds blow. Really going to be, when it comes to Danny Smith, this is going to be a game where Danny Smith makes his paycheck. Because it's not just with the field goals, it's with punting, and it's with defending what Buffalo chooses to do as far as their special teams are concerned. And Buffalo, it's that chess match. Miles Killebrew spoke today, and obviously Miles Killebrew named All-Pro along with TJ Watt. Awesome for Miles Killebrew. Being named All-Pro, certainly deserved. But, Miles, I asked Miles today, I'm like, hey, what does Buffalo do well with special teams? They obviously had the punt return touchdown against Miami that really gave them momentum, that really gave them momentum late in the game. And then they do well at defending kickoffs and punts too. And, he just basically mentioned that they're really sound at getting to their spots and really just reacting to what the other team does. And when you have swirling winds and 50-mile-an-hour gusts, Presley Harvin could hit an 80-yard punt one time, or Brad Wink for that matter, could hit an 80-yard punt one time and then hit a 20-yard punt the next time because of the wind. So you really don't know what you're going to get as far as the special teams in this game. And those situations are going to vary based on the conditions that are inside of the stadium. It's really going to be fascinating from that standpoint.
Yeah. Just so we can kind of understand, I touched on this a couple of days ago, but I wanted to kind of bring it up again. According to the Weather Channel, the winds will be coming from the west-southwest. Now, obviously, as you said, that doesn't mean it's sustained from just that direction for the entire time, but in the general vicinity, it will be coming from that direction. And
get the wind knocking over your microphone.
Yeah, for real. And so when you consider that with the direction the wind's coming from, the stadium is laid out in the way where you have a northwest end zone and a southeast end zone. And so when you talk about west-southwest winds, that means cross breeze for the most part, crosswind for the most part, with a little bit like kind of going into, if you're facing the northwest end zone, a little bit into, but more still kind of crosswind. So it will be kind of, teams sometimes might be dealing with crosswinds, and sometimes you might be dealing with the wind at your back or the wind in your face, just depending on how the wind's blowing in. So it can really be all over the place. So it's not like you're facing the northwest end zone and the wind is coming from the northwest, so it's directly in your face. It's going to be kind of all over the place.
Darren, thank you for the 5 gifted. We appreciate you. If you got one or have an opportunity to claim it, please do so. That is a freebie. Get all the access to the emotes and exclusive member benefits. So we appreciate that. Swan asks, when will the team be going up? I believe their charter leaves around 3 p.m. tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. So they'll be flying up tomorrow afternoon. Mark, I'm glad you brought this up. Mark says, don't worry about the NFLPA All-Pro teams. AP All-Pro team has Watt first, as he should be. You're correct about that. However, if this is any kind of indication as to how the Defensive Player of the Year vote could potentially go, and reminder, the same people that vote on the All-Pro also vote on the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
Myles Garrett edged TJ Watt by 8 votes for first-team All-Pro.
Yep.
Garrett finished first among edge rushers. Watt finished second. There are 2 edge rushers on All-Pro. I think Crosby and Parsons were on the second team.
That would make sense.
We're on the second team. So, yes, you are right partially on that, Mark. However, I will leave it out there that Garrett gathered 8 more votes for first-team All-Pro than Watt did. And if that's any indication of how defensive player of the year could go, don't get mad at me. I didn't vote.
Just prepare
I didn't have a
yourself.
vote.
Yeah, just prepare yourself for Myles Garrett to win it. Again, as we talked about the past couple of days, I know Corey wasn't on here, but we did talk about it the past couple of days. People are completely enthralled or completely obsessed with analytics nowadays, and it drives the overall analysis of players a little bit too much, in my opinion. And so, but that's just where we are. And so you have a lot of people who buy into it. They want to be the smart guy in the room, and so they bring up analytics and So and I mean, Josh kind of says it there. TJ is getting screwed. Just accept it. If he ends up winning it, then he deservedly won it. If he doesn't win it, then and Mark's pretty much saying Garrett's going to win it. I think at this point Garrett's going to win it. I don't think he deserves to win it. I think Myles Garrett had a phenomenal year. I think he does deserve that recognition. I think he's worthy of being first team All-Pro. I might put Micah Parsons ahead of him. But either way, he's worthy of an All-Pro selection, whether it's first team or second team. I'm sorry. I just think TJ Watt's the defensive player of the year, but I'm just going to accept it now.
Mark says, thanks for the kick to the groin. You're welcome, I guess. I'm not going to pander. Sorry. I'm not going to pander. I'm not going to say things to make you feel better. I'm going to tell the truth as best as I can.
Oh, I called the Steelers fan base. What did I call them yesterday?
I'm not going to pander. I'm sorry. It's not what I
do. Somebody help me out. If you were, I can't remember the word I used yesterday. If you were on the show yesterday, I used a word, certain adjective to describe the Steelers fan base. I said passionate as one of. I said rabid. I called them rabid.
Okay.
And that got a little reaction here.
William. That's just William. I'm just telling the truth. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna sit here and coddle and pander and try to say things to curry favor. That's just not how I do it. That's never who I've been. So rabid is the word that the chat is reminding you of. For those that missed it, I have not been here the last 2 days on this show because the Steelers practiced in Acrisure Stadium on Wednesday and Thursday, partially because the fields over at the UPMC Rudy Sports Complex outside got absolutely torn up on Tuesday when they practiced outside. There was freezing rain, sleet, cold, miserable. Weather was miserable Tuesday over on the south side. So Mike Tomlin said, hey, weather's going to suck. Embrace the suck. We're practicing outside. And that's exactly what they did. Wednesday, the weather wasn't much better. Again, freezing, windy, rainy, gross at Acrisure Stadium on the North Shore. And then Thursday, they practiced again at Acrisure. It was way nicer outside, though. And then they held coordinator Thursday over there as well. And then today they practice actually indoors on the south side. So obviously the Friday practices are a little lighter. They always are.
Yeah.
Not really walk-through-y, but not really, going full balls to the wall.
Wednesday and Thursday are the heavy lifting days usually.
Right. So today was more of a lighter day as it always is. And, obviously they took care of business on the south side indoors today. Patrick Peterson spoke after practice. I heard from, Chris had his memory leave on the south side.
My short-term memory has always been terrible. It's always been terrible.
Yeah.
Ask me to remember something from yesterday, man. I got like 5 hours of sleep last night thanks to a sick kid. So.
Oh no, man! I just got over it last week, as you know.
Oh no,
I just got over it.
This is a stomach bug. So yeah, my son's he's home today. So.
Steelers Freak says, "Thank God Corey isn't a cancer patient counselor. I'd have a little more sympathy for patients that are dealing with such a tough road. I would deal with that in a more graceful manner. But this is sports talk, and I don't think I need to coddle anybody on sports talk. I think we could all have our own opinions. So there's that. Let's do predictions. I think it's finally time to get into the predictions, and I want to see them in chat. I want to see everybody put their prediction in chat. You think Buffalo's going to win? You think the Steelers are going to win? Mark says Corey's a consummate professional, never allowing emotions to affect the report. I'm trying not to. I want to do my best to be not just accurate and fair, but also I just want to be able to convey, I think, what is the honest opinion or the honest, or not just honest opinion, but also truth. I want to make sure that that's being fair and those lines aren't being blurred. All right, prediction time. I'll start.
Yeah.
You
gotta send me yours in written form, by the way.
I will. I will. A 9.5 spread is a lot for the postseason.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And Mike Tomlin typically doesn't do great in these kind of situations. And if he goes up to double-digit dog, he doesn't do great as a double-digit dog. I think I'll start at the end and then I'll go into elaboration. I think the Bills win this game, but the Steelers cover. I think the Bills win this game somewhere in the realm of like 17-10. Because I'm accounting the weather in it, no doubt. I think the Bills win this game by a touchdown, maybe 4 points. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. But I just can't. I sat there yesterday and I sat there this morning and I thought of ways the Steelers win this game without TJ Watt. And I couldn't find many, if any, avenues, if that makes sense. I thought of ways that Josh Allen is contained without TJ Watt. And I know Alex Highsmith is great and Nick Herbig and Marcus Golden are good, but I still think like 15 rushing touchdowns for the guy this year as a quarterback. That's a ton. James Cook,
league. Yeah.
James Cook, 1,100 yards rushing, 4th in the league. For as good as Josh Allen is as throwing the ball, and I know he tends to make some mistakes, and the Bills live with that, they are also excellent at running the football. And I think that even if they have to play a snow game, I think I saw a stat since, I believe it was the Week 13 bye for Buffalo. The Steelers are the first of the NFL in rushing. The Bills are number 2. I don't remember exactly what week that was, but it was basically around that time. But the Bills have been running it really well since their bye, since that 5-game winning streak started. They pounded Dallas, the Cowboys, the one of the best teams in the NFC. They pounded 31-10, and Cook ran all over them. So I think that, yeah, if the weather's terrible and the Steelers have to resort to Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, that offense can find some success. However, they had a harder time beating Baltimore in bad conditions last week, and it took Mason Rudolph completing 18 of 20 passes for them to do that. I can't expect 18 to 20 out of Mason again. I can't really expect that kind of efficiency from the pass game that's going to allow Buffalo to sag back a bit for Najee and Jalen to do their thing. I think some of that gets taken away. I think Buffalo wins this, but I think the Steelers cover.
Yeah. You can take over putting comments on the screen.
Yeah, I got you.
So I also think like if I'm betting, if you're just having me like bet either, Buffalo minus 9.5 or Steelers plus 9.5, I'm taking Steelers plus 9.5.
Right.
Sure. I can say that outright. I also am concerned about how the Steelers can defend the Bills' offense. James Cook provides a lot of versatility, both in the running game and as a receiver out of the backfield. Stephon Diggs, despite all of the chemistry issues or off-field or sideline issues with Josh Allen, is still a very productive receiver, still a phenomenal route runner, will definitely test Joey Porter Jr. Gabe Davis being out hurts the Bills for sure. I'm most concerned on offense about how the Steelers can keep Dalton Kincaid under wraps, because I know that if the Bills are a smart team, and they are, they're going to be watching how the Cardinals did it with Trey McBride, because McBride tore them a new one, and I'm like, for as good as McBride is, I think Kincaid's better. So the Bills will be looking to exploit that somehow, and getting Minka back and getting KZ back definitely helps. And Landon Roberts being healthy, healthier, definitely helps in that regard. But I'm still a little bit concerned about it. And then obviously Josh Allen, I think he's going to end up throwing a pick or two in this game. But I have a hard time seeing the Steelers stopping the Bills. I'll put it this way. I have a hard time seeing the Steelers forcing the Bills to punt a lot in this game. So at that point, it's how often can you get takeaways, and how often can you make them settle for field goals instead of scoring touchdowns?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can hold them to nothing but field goals, I like the Steelers' chances. If they can hold them to maybe only one touchdown, then maybe they can pull it off. If the Bills score 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game, I think it's over. The way to victory for the Steelers is through running the football. If they can control the clock, and they can keep Josh Allen and that offense on the sideline and force them to become one-dimensional. That's the other part of it too, is that which team can force the other offense to become one-dimensional. And if the Steelers can run the football and somehow use that to also open up some sort of passing game and whatever you can do in these conditions, then I like the Steelers' chances. Mm-hmm. It's just a little bit much for me to say that the Steelers are going to go on the road in a hostile environment with the weather being what it is. The Bills are more used to it than the Steelers are. It's weather that both teams are kind of used to anyway. I think the Bills are the better overall football team. I'm going to pick the Bills to win, and I'm going to say final score is 16-13.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will put the caveat. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not like looking for a cop out or something like that, or some, if the Steelers end up winning this game, I'll take the L. That's fine. It will not shock me if the Steelers win this football game.
I'm with you on that.
It will not shock me at all.
I'm with you on that. I think there's avenues for them to win.
Especially if Rasul Douglas does not play.
I think there's an avenue for them to win. I really do. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying Buffalo's a lock. Let me word this eloquently. I said this the other day. I think there's a greater chance Buffalo plays well than there is a chance they play badly. Is it different, Chris? Is it different? Not you, Chris. The Chris you just put up on the screen. Is it different? I don't know how different the Steelers team is.
Well, if you're talking about different from the last time they played the Bills, yes.
Sure.
But I mean, if we're talking about like, I don't know, like, okay, so like certain things that I've looked at, okay, like one thing I look at, since week 9, the Steelers are averaging 145 yards rushing per game. And in that same stretch, they're 8th in rushing EPA and they're 5th in rushing success rate. So they're running the ball better than almost anybody in the league.
Yeah.
Or they're right up there with the best rushing attacks in the league. And the Bills, even during this 5-game stretch where they've won 5 in a row and they stormed back and won the AFC East, are 26. I'm trying to remember the numbers. I have them in my next opponent piece that's coming out later today. They're like 26th or 27th in rushing EPA. Like they're not like even like, yeah, you can look at it like, oh, they only allowed 80 something yards a game. Yeah. But in terms of like actual like performance against the run, they're not doing that great against the run, even in this 5-game stretch. So the Steelers can run the ball on this team. And if they can, how do they make the Bills pay for it when they try to load the box? If Rasul Douglas is out and they can't have that guy just take away George Pickens, now you have to use your extra safety or use the safety to try to take away those passes down the field or even the intermediate passes. That changes everything. And that's why I think if Rasul Douglas doesn't play, I really see the Steelers with a legitimate chance to pull off this upset.
I just want to add more context into how good Buffalo is at running the football as well. 130.1 rushing yards per game, 7th in the NFL. Cook, 1,122 yards, 4th in the NFL. Allen, 15 rushing touchdowns, 2nd in the league behind Raheem Mostert's 18 over in Miami. And they added Leonard Fournette. So they have fresh legs. And Leonard Fournette's only played in a couple of games. It has only taken about 15 carries. So the Bills have a really damn good rushing attack too, in addition to having Josh Allen, in addition to having one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, in addition to having a guy that is not afraid to make plays with his legs. I saw a comment. I haven't started. I can't put it on the screen because there's a bad word here, and I want to keep this stream monetized. Boss Una says it's a darn shame that all you Steelers podcast workers, well, first off, I'm a reporter who's also doing a podcast, don't have faith in the team you're covering it because of Josh Allen. It's not that I don't have faith in them. I just know how good Josh Allen is, and I know how good Josh Allen can be.
Really quickly. Do fans really want? No, I was not doing a sick kid run. That's funny though, Darren. Do fans really want reporters or podcasters or whatever to be like all rah and nothing but and try to like feed you some sort of like Homer beer goggle nonsense? I don't want that.
I'm not a fan.
I don't want that.
That's not who I am.
Like I'm just saying, like, I don't want that. Like I would rather people call it like I see it. I can force feed you and say, yeah, the Steelers can run the ball and control the clock for 40 minutes in this game and ground and pound them. And then Josh Allen will throw 3 interceptions. And yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's just like, I don't know.
It's not who I am.
I don't get that.
It really isn't. It really isn't. I didn't get to where I am because, I kiss butt of people that read me or kiss butt of people that watch or listen to my stuff. That's not who I am. I like being honest and fair.
I'm gonna pull up some advanced stats on the Bills when it comes to their running attack during this 5-game winning streak. So just give me a second.
Yeah,
I'm pulling that up right now.
Yeah.
Because I try to put it in that context. Okay, so the Bills as of right now are over these past 5 games, weeks 14 through 18, in rushing EPA, they are 4th in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are 7th over that same stretch. In terms of rushing success rate, the Bills are 3rd and the Steelers are 6th. And that, again, that's over the last 5 games, not 3 games. 3 games, I think the Steelers rank higher than that. I think actually only the 49ers have a higher success rate over the last 3 games than the Steelers. But yes, that goes to show, yes, the Bills are running the football really, really well right now. So again, we're trying to, if the Steelers get their butts kicked on Sunday, don't come, we're trying to help, put that in a situation like that is a distinct possibility. And we're trying to let you know that is a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
Now it's also a distinct possibility that somehow the Steelers completely shock everybody and they roll the Bills on this one. Somehow.
You never know. You never know.
Nobody. I go back to 2004 and I think about that 15-1 season when they were facing the Patriots on Halloween and they go out to a 21-3 lead in the first quarter. Nobody saw that coming. It just happens sometimes. You get the right things, you get the right plays. It just happens. So, like, this is a game in which I see a real avenue for both teams to win this game.
Which run defense am I going to see? Am I going to see the one that stops Lamar Jackson and Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford to a certain extent? Or am I going to see the one that let Trey Sermon and the ghost of Ezekiel Elliott and James Conner run all over them 3 weeks in a row? I don't know what run defense I'm going to see. I'll tell you this, and I want everybody here, right here, real quick before we get out. I know you're here, but I want you here, really here. If the Steelers win this football game on Sunday, there's one major factor. There's one major person. There's one key component of this. It's Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has the coaching advantage over Sean McDermott. Mike Tomlin, I trust Mike Tomlin more in these close situations than I trust Sean McDermott. Let me tell you why. I was in that locker room all week, Monday through Friday today. That locker room had its chest out. That locker room had its head up. That locker room had energy and flow and determination. That energy is so key for this part of the year. 5 times I was in the locker room this week, and granted, for the media, it's a finite amount of time. Mike Tomlin walked through it twice while we were in there. Definitely did it today. All the bags are laid out because they're traveling, they're flying, they have to get their equipment ready. Mike Tomlin walks around, hands in the pockets, bubble jacket on, just looking around, surveying, talking to players. He's engaged. He's in this. He's very much in this. And if the Steelers win this game on Sunday, for the pessimists in the chat that called me out earlier, here it is. Hope you're paying attention. If the Steelers win this game on Sunday, it's because Mike Tomlin has this team ready to go. That's why.
Also, okay, so I talked about how the Steelers are running the football really well and how the Bills are not defending the run well. Okay.
Go ahead.
The Bills are running the ball well. Over the last 3 games, during the Steelers' 3-game winning streak, they are 2nd in the NFL in rushing EPA. And they are 6th in the NFL in rushing success rate. So the Steelers are defending the run very well over these last 3 games.
Alex, I'm not shaving my head if the Steelers win. No, I might go get a haircut tomorrow, but I'm not shaving my head if they win.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I really like about like the EPA and success rate and everything like that is if you go look at like overall yards, that doesn't account for when teams get one dimensional because they fell behind in a big obviously like Bengals and Seahawks fell behind. They have to become more one dimensional. They can't run the ball. It's when they do run the ball, how effective are they being with running the football? And that's why EPA and success rate are good. So
Teresa,
no, Corey,
Teresa,
I would not do that. No.
Teresa, I appreciate the challenge. Go tell my girlfriend that I'm buzzing my hair. It's done. It's done. I can't do that. I'm on a limit here. I am limited, capped on what I can do. And yeah, happily, I will limit and cap myself. It's a good trade-off. It's a good reason. So I will stay where I'm at. Bam Bam Bigelow. I'm not Bam Bam, but come on.
So
come on, Darren. Leave
Bam
Bam be.
So I again like
Teresa, I got too much to risk. I can't do it.
Spice Creation says y'all sound like you're trying to convince us. I'm really not trying to convince you of anything. I just try to make sure that like everybody's as informed as possible when it comes to where these two teams are right now and where they're going. At least that's what I'm doing. Like again, I think I'm saying this is going to be a close football game, and I really do think the Steelers have a legitimate chance of pulling this off. I'm going with my gut on this one, saying the Bills are going to win, but yeah, it is what it is. Like, again, I think, I don't know, like, I would say it's probably the most, well, maybe not. Dolphins going to Kansas City in that weather and trying to win is, ugh. I'd still think the Steelers beating the Bills might be the most likely upset. Maybe outside.
I think Kansas City definitely beats Miami. I think Houston over Cleveland's realistic. It's realistic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Houston, who's favored in that game?
I believe the Browns are.
Like, even though Houston's the 4 seed.
I believe the Browns are road favorites. Yeah. I think the most likely upset would be Houston over Cleveland. I think CJ Stroud's
that game I
wonderful.
could see going either. I think that game I could see going either way.
Don't rule out the Rams beating the Lions either. Don't rule that out whatsoever.
Oh, I know. The Rams are a good football team.
Rams are having it. Yeah, Steelers Freak says this here. I'm not ruling out the Rams at all beating the Lions. In Detroit, Matt Stafford's return. Listen, I saw what Jared Goff did in their first Super Bowl run when he was there, when they lost to the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Goff is a deer in headlights at times. I think that's the Lions. I think that's the Goff we see. I think Stafford goes into Detroit, homecoming and all, and puts on a show, and I think the Rams win it. Am I a little biased because I grew up a Rams fan? Maybe. But I still think that's a legit possibility. I think the Chiefs smoke the Dolphins in Arrowhead. Miami's down a bunch of players. I don't see how Miami gets through that. I think Cleveland beats Houston, but I think Houston could upset them. I'm not thinking twice about the Eagles over the Bucks. Eagles over the Bucks for sure.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm not thinking twice about it, really.
I don't know about that. The Eagles are a mess right now. They are a mess.
I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking. I don't see the Bucks beating the Eagles.
We need to make a bet on that game.
I mean, we can. You can. I'm not doing that. Am I missing a game? No, I'm not. Oh, Packers, Cowboys. Yeah, Cowboys smoking them.
I don't know about smoking them. Packers are playing really well right now.
Yeah, I know, but the Cowboys at home, they're really good.
No, they're undefeated at home. They're really good at home, but yeah, no.
Mark, Kyron Williams is a baller. That's a good running back. All right, let's get out of here. Let's let DK and Ramon come in about 20 minutes, and let's let them set the table for you for this weekend. Chris and I did our part. We have set the stage as best as we can. We'll reconvene Monday.
Yep.
Just to see what happens. After a win, after a loss, after who knows what is about to happen in lovely Western New York. Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll either be wrapping up the season or we'll be talking about playing the Ravens again. So that's what got Chris snorting was somebody said beard versus beard in terms of a bet. I'm not betting this beard on anything.
I'm not doing that either. I'm gonna leave off with a comment from PGB That's a mouthful. He says your takes are baffling. PG, thank you for tuning in. Cheers to you. Have a coffee on me. Thank you very much. He's Chris Halicke. I'm Corey Crisan. DK and Ramon in 20 minutes for the Ramon Foster Show. We're on to Sunday. and eventually we'll be on to Monday. Cheers, everybody. Have a good day.